The impossible mission. The bridge of the Galactic Alliance flagship, Stellar Horizon, buzzed with nervous energy. Alien officers from a dozen different species huddled around holographic displays, their expressions grim. At the center of it all stood Admiral Zextor, his forearms crossed over his chitinous chest as he studied the swirling red mass on the main view screen. "The Devourers have consumed another 3 systems," he announced, his voice a mixture of clicks and whistles. "At this rate, they'll reach the core worlds within a standard solar cycle." A ripple of dismay passed through the assembled officers. The Devourers were a hive-mind species that traveled through space in massive, organic ships. They consumed everything in their path: planets, asteroids, even stars, converting matter into energy to fuel their endless expansion. Every attempt to communicate or negotiate had failed. The Galactic Alliance had thrown everything they had at the Devourers, from antimatter bombs to psychic attacks, but nothing seemed to slow their relentless advance. "There must be something we haven't tried," said Lieutenant Kira, her leaf-like appendages quivering with frustration. "Some weakness we haven't discovered." Admiral Zextor's compound eyes flickered. "There is one possibility, but it's so dangerous, so unlikely to succeed, that I hesitate to even mention it." The room fell silent, all eyes and sensory organs focused on the Admiral. "We've detected a central node within the largest Devourer ship," Zextor continued. "Our scientists believe it may act as a control center for the entire hive mind. If we could infiltrate the ship and destroy the node, it might disrupt their entire fleet." "But that's impossible," exclaimed Commander Vreen, his gelatinous form rippling with alarm. "The Devourer ships are impenetrable. Their defenses shred anything that gets within 1,000 kilometers." Admiral Zextor nodded gravely. "Which is why we need a volunteer. Someone to pilot a specially designed stealth ship, slip past their defenses, and carry out the mission from within." The silence that followed was deafening. Every officer on the bridge knew that such a mission was tantamount to suicide. The chances of survival were practically zero. Just as the weight of hopelessness began to settle over the room, a new voice spoke up, one that didn't need the universal translator to be understood. "I'll do it." All eyes turned to the speaker, and a collective gasp rippled through the alien crew. Standing near the back of the bridge was a human woman, her dark skin contrasting sharply with the stark white of her uniform. Her name was Maya Chen, and she was the only human serving aboard the Stellar Horizon as part of a cultural exchange program. Admiral Zextor's mandibles clicked in surprise. "Lieutenant Chen, you can't be serious. This mission is a suicide run." "Yeah, I got that," Maya interrupted, stepping forward. "But someone's got to do it, right? Might as well be me." The aliens exchanged bewildered glances. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic stage, and most species regarded them with a mixture of fascination and fear. Earth was classified as a death world, a planet so hostile that it was a miracle any sapient species had evolved there at all. Humans were known for their resilience and adaptability. But this was beyond anything the aliens had expected. "Lieutenant," Admiral Zextor said carefully, "I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation. The odds of survival are infinitesimal. Even if you somehow manage to infiltrate the Devourer ship, the psychic backlash from the hive mind alone would overwhelm most species." Maya grinned, a gesture that several of the more timid aliens found rather unsettling. "With all due respect, Admiral, you folks don't know humans very well yet. We've got a saying back on Earth: never tell me the odds." She paused, considering. "Well, okay, that's from a movie, but you get the idea. The point is, sometimes you've got to take crazy risks to get the job done." Commander Vreen oozed forward, his translucent body pulsing with concern. But why? Why would you volunteer for such a dangerous mission? You're not even a full member of the Alliance military." Maya's expression softened slightly. "Look, I've got family back on Earth. Friends. A whole planet full of people who don't even know the danger that's coming. If there's even a tiny chance that I can stop these devourers and save billions of lives, well, that's a chance worth taking. A murmur ran through the alien crew. They had known humans were unusual, but this level of self-sacrifice for the greater good was almost unheard of in galactic society. Admiral Zextor studied Maya for a long moment, his compound eyes unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "Very well, Lieutenant Chen. If you're certain about this, we'll begin preparations immediately. But I want it noted in the official record that I think this is madness." Maya's grin returned, wider than ever. "Noted, sir. Now, let's go save the galaxy, shall we?" As the bridge erupted into a flurry of activity, Maya felt a strange calm settle over her. She knew the odds were astronomical, the danger unimaginable. But there was a part of her, the part that had driven humans to explore, to push boundaries, to reach for the stars, that thrilled at the challenge. Whatever happened next, she was about to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. A human among aliens. The next 48 hours aboard the stellar horizon were a whirlwind of activity. Maya found herself at the center of a storm of preparation, surrounded by alien scientists and engineers all working feverishly to give her even the slightest edge in her upcoming mission. This stealth suit should render you virtually undetectable to the devourer's sensors, explained Dr. Xylo, a spindly arachnid-like being whose multiple limbs moved in a mesmerizing dance as he made adjustments to the sleek black outfit. It adapts to match its surroundings and can even dampen your biological signatures. Maya ran a hand over the suit's smooth surface, marveling at how it seemed to shimmer and shift under her touch. Impressive. But won't the devourer's psychic ability still be able to sense me? Dr. Xylo's compound eyes flickered in what Maya had come to recognize as the equivalent of a frown. That is a more complicated matter. We've incorporated psionic shielding into the helmet, but it's untested against a hive mind of this magnitude. "Great," Maya muttered. "So I'll be invisible right up until the moment my brain melts." The doctor's mandibles clicked rapidly, his species' version of nervous laughter. "Your species' use of humor in the face of danger continues to baffle me, Lieutenant Chen." Maya grinned. "Trust me, Doc, if we couldn't laugh at death, we'd never get anything done back on Earth." As the final preparations were made, Maya found herself spending more time with the alien crew. Many were curious about her, about Earth, and about humanity in general. She fielded countless questions, some mundane, others downright bizarre. Is it true that humans voluntarily ingest neurotoxins for pleasure? Asked Ensign Zerl, a bioluminescent squid-like being. Maya chuckled. If you're talking about alcohol, then yeah, some of us do. It's not really a neurotoxin in small doses, though. Fascinating. Zerl burbled, his tentacles writhing in excitement. And you really evolved on a planet with such high gravity and corrosive atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere isn't corrosive to us, Maya had explained patiently. The oxygen that's toxic to many of you is essential for our survival. These conversations helped take Maya's mind off the looming mission, but they also served another purpose. With each interaction, she was breaking down barriers, helping the aliens see humans as more than just the frightening Deathworlders they'd heard about in stories. The night before the mission, Maya found herself unable to sleep. She wandered the ship's corridors, eventually making her way to the observation deck. The vast expanse of space stretched out before her, stars twinkling like distant beacons. "Trouble sleeping, Lieutenant Chen." Maya turned to see Admiral Zextor approaching, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming in the starlight. "Just pre-mission jitters, sir," she replied with a slight smile. "Nothing to worry about." The Admiral moved to stand beside her, his forearms clasped behind his back. "I've been observing you these past 2 days, Lieutenant. Your courage and determination are remarkable." Maya shrugged. "I'm just doing what needs to be done, sir." "Perhaps," Zextor said, his compound eyes fixed on the stars. "But I've commanded ships for over 300 of your Earth years, and I've never seen anything quite like this." Most species, when faced with such overwhelming odds, would simply give up hope. "That's not really our style," Maya said with a chuckle. "Humans, we're stubborn. We don't know when to quit, even when we probably should." The Admiral was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, almost contemplative. "When your species first made contact with the Galactic Alliance, many were wary. Humans seemed so volatile, unpredictable, dangerous even." Maya nodded. She'd heard similar sentiments before. "But now," Zextor continued, "I'm beginning to see that those very qualities might be exactly what we need in this fight against the Devourers." He turned to face Maya fully, his posture formal. "Lieutenant Chen, regardless of the outcome of tomorrow's mission, I want you to know that you have earned the respect and admiration of this crew, and of myself." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. Coming from the usually stoic Admiral, this was high praise indeed. "Thank you, sir," she managed to say. "That means a lot." As the Admiral turned to leave, he paused. "Oh, and Lieutenant, there's an old saying among my people, even the smallest spark can ignite a cosmic flame. Tomorrow, you carry the spark of hope for the entire galaxy. Make it count." With that, he was gone, leaving Maya alone with the stars and her thoughts. The next morning arrived all too quickly. Maya stood in the launch bay, clad in her stealth suit, the specially designed infiltration ship looming before her. The alien crew had gathered to see her off, an unusual show of emotion from beings normally so reserved. Commander Vreen oozed forward, his gelatinous form quivering. "We've loaded the ship with everything we think you might need. Weapons, tools, emergency rations." "Thanks, Commander," Maya said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "I appreciate all the hard work everyone's put in." There was an awkward moment of silence. None of the aliens seemed to know quite what to say. It was Ensign Zerl who finally broke the tension, his bioluminescent skin flashing in patterns of blue and green. "Lieutenant Chen," he burbled, "there's a human custom I've read about. For luck, I believe." With that, he extended a tentacle. Maya grinned, recognizing the gesture. She reached out and shook the proffered appendage. "That's right, Zerl. A handshake for good luck." One by one, the other aliens came forward, each offering their own version of a handshake or well-wish. Even Admiral Zextor participated, touching one of his upper arms to Maya's shoulder in a gesture of respect. As Maya climbed into the cockpit of her ship, she felt a swell of emotion. These beings, so different from herself, had become something like family over the past months, and now she was about to risk everything to protect them, to protect the entire galaxy. The launch bay doors opened, revealing the star-studded blackness of space. Maya took a deep breath, her hand steady on the controls. "Stellar Horizon, this is Lieutenant Chen," she said into the comm. "Commencing Operation Lightbringer. Wish me luck." "Good luck, Lieutenant," came Admiral Zextor's response. "And may the stars guide you home." With a final salute to the assembled crew, Maya engaged the engines. The ship hummed to life around her, stealth systems activating as she accelerated out into the void. Ahead lay the massive organic bulk of the Devourer fleet, a swirling mass of tentacles and biotech that seemed to devour the very light around it. Somewhere within that nightmarish tangle was her target, the central node that controlled the entire hive mind. Maya set her jaw, determination flooding through her. The odds were astronomical, the danger unimaginable. But she was human, a child of Earth, a Deathworlder, and she was about to show the Devourers and the entire galaxy exactly what that meant. With a burst of acceleration, she plunged into the heart of darkness, carrying with her the hopes of countless worlds. The hunt was on. Into the heart of danger. Maya's ship sliced through the inky void, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. As she approached the Devourer fleet, the true scale of the threat became apparent. Massive organic vessels, each the size of a small moon, pulsed with an eerie bioluminescence. Tendrils of living matter stretched between the ships, forming a vast, interconnected web. Stellar horizon. This is Chen, Maya whispered into her comm, though she knew the stealth systems would prevent any transmission from being detected. I'm approaching the outer perimeter of the Devourer fleet. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Static crackled in response. She was too close to the fleet now for clear communication. From here on out, she was on her own. Maya took a deep breath, centering herself. The mission was simple in theory. Infiltrate the largest Devourer ship, locate the central node of the hive mind, and destroy it. In practice, it was like trying to perform brain surgery on a kraken while riding a tornado. As she maneuvered between the colossal bioships, Maya felt a pressure building in her head. The psionic shielding in her helmet hummed, working overtime to protect her mind from the psychic emanations of the hive. "Okay, ugly," she muttered, eyeing the largest ship in the fleet. "Let's dance." Maya guided her vessel towards what appeared to be an opening. A massive maw-like structure that periodically opened and closed, presumably to intake matter for consumption. Timing would be crucial. Too slow, and she'd be crushed. Too fast, and the sudden movement might alert the Devourers to her presence. She watched the rhythm of the opening, her hands tightening on the controls. 3, 2, 1. Maya gunned the engines, her ship shooting forward just as the maw began to open. For a heart-stopping moment, she thought she'd miscalculated. The organic walls of the opening brushed against her ship's hull, the stealth field flickering. Then she was through, plunging into the cavernous interior of the Devourer vessel. The inside of the ship was a nightmare of organic machinery. Pulsing veins carried glowing fluids, while tendrils and tentacles writhed in patterns too alien to comprehend. The air was thick with spores and a sickly sweet odor that made Maya grateful for her suit's filtration system. "Right," Maya said to herself, trying to ignore the increasing pressure in her skull. "Find the brain, blow it up. Easy peasy." She set the ship down in what seemed to be a less active area, the stealth field masking its presence. According to the mission briefing, she'd have to proceed on foot from here. The central node would be too well protected to approach in a vessel, no matter how well cloaked. Maya checked her equipment one last time. Stealth suit active, psionic shielding at maximum, weapon charged, emergency beacon ready, though she knew using it would be a death sentence this deep in enemy territory. With a final, steadying breath, she popped the hatch and stepped out into the belly of the beast. The moment her feet touched the organic floor, Maya felt a shift in the atmosphere. A low, subsonic hum vibrated through her bones, and the writhing of the surrounding tissue intensified. She froze, certain she'd been detected. But after a tense minute, nothing changed. The ship's strange organs continued their incomprehensible functions, paying her no mind. "Okay," Maya whispered. "So far, so good." She began to make her way deeper into the ship, following the increasing intensity of the psychic pressure. It was like the world's worst migraine, building with each step she took. The psionic shielding was holding, but for how long? As she traversed the twisting, pulsating corridors, Maya encountered her first Devourer drones. They were vaguely humanoid in shape, but that's where the similarity ended. Each drone was a mass of tentacles and eyes, moving with an unsettling fluidity. They seemed to be performing maintenance tasks, tending to the ship's biological systems. Maya pressed herself against a wall, holding her breath as a drone passed within inches of her. Her stealth suit shifted, matching the texture and color of the surrounding tissue perfectly. The drone's cluster of eyes swiveled in her direction, and for a heart-stopping moment, Maya was certain it had spotted her. Then it moved on, continuing its inscrutable work. "That was too close," Maya muttered, allowing herself a small sigh of relief. As she delved deeper into the ship, the organic corridors began to pulse with increasing intensity. The psychic pressure was becoming almost unbearable, her vision blurring at the edges. But Maya pressed on, gritting her teeth against the pain. She was close. She had to be. Finally, after what felt like hours of creeping through the nightmarish labyrinth, Maya found herself at the entrance to a massive chamber. Unlike the chaotic, ever-shifting nature of the rest of the ship, this room was eerily still. At its center floated a massive, brain-like structure, pulsing with an otherworldly light. The central node, the key to the entire devourer hive mind. Maya's hand went to the high-yield explosive device at her belt. One well-placed charge, and this nightmare would be over. The devourers would be thrown into disarray, giving the Galactic Alliance the opening they needed to strike back. But as she took a step into the chamber, a searing pain lanced through her skull. The psionic shielding in her helmet sparked and fizzled, overwhelmed by the sheer psychic force emanating from the node. Maya fell to her knees, her vision swimming. Through the haze of agony, she saw movement. Drones were converging on her position, their tentacles writhing in anticipation. Her stealth suit, unable to compensate for her sudden movement, flickered and failed. She was exposed, surrounded, her mission on the brink of failure. As the drones closed in, Maya felt a presence push against her mind. An alien intelligence, vast and hungry, probing at the edges of her consciousness. The hive mind had found her. With the last of her strength, Maya reached for her weapon. If she was going down, she'd go down fighting. She was human, after all. It's what they did best. "Come on, you ugly squid wannabes," she growled, forcing herself to her feet. "Let's see what you've got." The chamber erupted into chaos as Maya opened fire, her weapon cutting through the first wave of drones. But for each one that fell, two more took its place, and all the while, the psychic assault continued, threatening to overwhelm her at any moment. As she fought for her life and the fate of the galaxy, one thought echoed through Maya's mind. This was going to be one hell of a story to tell back on the stellar horizon, if she survived to tell it. Against all odds. The chamber was a maelstrom of chaos. Maya's weapon flashed, cutting down drone after drone, but the tide seemed endless. Her muscles screamed with exertion, every movement a battle against the crushing psychic pressure emanating from the central node. "Is that all you've got?" Maya taunted through gritted teeth, even as her vision swam and her knees threatened to buckle. The drones pressed in, their tentacles lashing out, seeking purchase on her suit. But Maya was far from helpless. Years of training kicked in, muscle memory taking over where conscious thought faltered. She ducked, rolled, and weaved through the mass of writhing bodies, her every move calculated for maximum efficiency. A drone's tentacle wrapped around her ankle. Maya didn't hesitate. She fired point blank, the creature's flesh sizzling and dissolving under the energy blast. The acrid smell of burnt alien tissue filled the air, mixing with the sickly sweet odor that permeated the ship. As she fought, Maya's mind raced. The mission parameters had gone out the window the moment she was detected. Now it was about survival, and completing the objective against impossible odds. The central node pulsed malevolently behind the wall of drones, tantalizingly close yet unreachable. Maya's hand brushed the explosive device at her belt. If she could just get close enough. A particularly large drone, easily twice the size of the others, surged forward. Its massive tentacles parted to reveal a maw lined with razor-sharp teeth. Maya barely had time to raise her weapon before it was upon her. The impact sent her sprawling, her back slamming against the organic floor with bone-jarring force. The drone loomed over her, its weight pinning her down as its tentacles probed for weaknesses in her suit. Maya's weapon had been knocked from her grasp, skittering across the floor and out of reach. The drone's maw descended, rotting breath hot on her face, even through the suit's filtration system. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Maya was acutely aware of every sensation, the hammering of her heart, the ache in her muscles, the pressure building behind her eyes. She could feel the hive mind pressing against her consciousness, seeking entry, promising an end to the pain if she'd just give in. But Maya Chen was human, and humans didn't give up. With a primal scream of defiance, Maya reached up and grabbed the drone's tentacles. The creature's flesh was slick and rubbery, difficult to grip, but Maya held on with every ounce of strength she possessed. Slowly, inexorably, she began to push the drone back. The other drones paused in their assault, as if confused by this display of strength. Even the hive mind's psychic probe faltered, unable to comprehend the sheer determination radiating from the small human female. Maya's arms trembled with the effort, but she didn't relent. Inch by agonizing inch, she forced the drone's maw away from her face. Then, in a burst of adrenaline-fueled strength, she planted her feet against the creature's body and kicked with all her might. The drone flew backward, crashing into its brethren. Maya scrambled to her feet, snatching up her fallen weapon in one fluid motion. Without missing a beat, she opened fire, carving a path through the momentarily stunned drones. "That's right," she panted, a fierce grin spreading across her face despite the pain. Humanity's got a few tricks up its sleeve. The drones regrouped, but there was a hesitancy to their movements now. The hive mind, for perhaps the first time in its existence, felt something akin to uncertainty. Maya pressed her advantage, fighting her way closer to the central node. Her muscles burned, her head throbbed, but she pushed through it all. She was so close now, just a few more meters. A psychic blast, more powerful than anything she'd felt before, slammed into her mind. Maya staggered, her vision going white with pain. The hive mind had realized the true threat she posed and was throwing everything it had at her. Maya fell to one knee, her free hand clutching her head. The pressure was overwhelming, threatening to crush her consciousness like an insect. Through the haze of agony, she could see the drones advancing once more, moving in for the kill. But as Maya knelt there, on the verge of being overrun, something unexpected happened. Images flashed through her mind, not the alien vistas of the devourer hive mind, but memories of Earth. The smile on her little sister's face when Maya had been accepted into the Galactic Alliance exchange program. The proud tears in her father's eyes at the launch ceremony. The vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, seen from the shore of her hometown. These weren't just memories. They were reminders of why she fought, of what she was protecting. With a Herculean effort, Maya pushed back against the psychic assault. She imagined her mind as a fortress, its walls reinforced by the love of her family, the beauty of her home world, the indomitable spirit of humanity. "Nice try," she growled, forcing herself back to her feet. "But you'll have to do better than that." The hive mind recoiled, confused and frustrated by this unexpected resistance. In that moment of psychic recoil, Maya saw her opening. She charged forward, barreling through the remaining drones with reckless abandon. Her hand went to her belt, fingers closing around the explosive device. With one final burst of speed, she hurled herself at the central node. Time seemed to slow as Maya sailed through the air. She could see every detail of the pulsing alien structure before her, could feel the weight of the explosive in her hand, could hear the screeching of the drones as they realized, too late, what she intended. Maya slammed into the central node, the impact knocking the wind from her lungs. But her fingers were steady as she armed the explosive and pressed it against the node's quivering flesh. "Lights out, you cosmic squids." Maya grinned, her finger hovering over the detonator. The chamber erupted into pandemonium. Drones swarmed towards her, tentacles flailing. The hive mind screamed in her thoughts, a cacophony of alien terror and rage. But Maya Chen, human of Earth, Deathworlder and savior of the galaxy, simply smiled and pressed the button. Triumph of the human spirit. The world exploded into light and sound. Maya felt the shock wave before she heard it, a ripple of force that sent her flying backwards. The central node erupted in a spectacular display of bioluminescent fury, spraying viscous fluids and chunks of alien matter in all directions. The drones closest to the blast simply disintegrated, while those further away writhed in apparent agony. As Maya tumbled through the air, time seemed to slow. She watched the destruction unfold around her with an almost detached fascination. The chamber's organic walls pulsed and contracted, as if the entire ship was screaming in pain. Tendrils of psychic energy, visible now in the aftermath of the explosion, whipped through the air like wounded serpents. Then reality reasserted itself, and Maya slammed into the far wall of the chamber. The impact knocked the wind out of her lungs and sent stars dancing across her vision. She slid to the floor, every nerve in her body screaming in protest. But she was alive. Somehow, against all odds, she was still alive. As Maya struggled to catch her breath, she became aware of a change in the atmosphere. The oppressive psychic pressure that had been bearing down on her mind was gone. In its place was a cacophony of confusion and fear, like 1,000 voices all crying out at once and then being suddenly silenced. The hive mind was in chaos. Maya forced herself to her feet, wincing at the pain that shot through her body. The chamber was in ruins, the remains of the central node still smoldering. Drones lay scattered about, some twitching feebly, others completely still. Those that were still functional seemed disoriented, bumping into each other and the walls in a daze. Stellar horizon. Maya croaked into her comm, hoping against hope that the explosion hadn't fried her communication systems. This is Lieutenant Chen. Mission accomplished. Requesting immediate extraction. For a long moment, there was nothing but static. Then, miraculously, a familiar voice crackled through. Lieutenant Chen. It was Admiral Zextor, his usual stoic tone replaced by what could only be described as shocked jubilation. By the cosmic void, you're alive. We've detected a massive energy surge from the Devourer fleet. Their ships are in disarray. What's your status? Maya couldn't help but laugh, despite the pain it caused her ribs. Status is, well, I've been better, sir. But I'm alive, and the central node is destroyed. The hive mind is down. There was a pause, filled only by the sound of celebration in the background of the transmission. When Zextor spoke again, there was a note of awe in his voice. Lieutenant, you've done it. You've given us a fighting chance. Hold your position. We're launching a full-scale assault on the Devourer fleet, and we'll have a rescue team en route to your location shortly. As if on cue, Maya felt a rumble through the ship. The Galactic Alliance was pressing their advantage, striking while the Devourers were in chaos. She allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. But her job wasn't done yet. The chamber was beginning to collapse, the organic structure of the ship breaking down without the guidance of the hive mind. Maya knew she had to move. With a groan of effort, she pushed herself away from the wall and began to make her way towards the exit. Each step was agony, but she pressed on, driven by the same determination that had carried her through the entire mission. As she navigated the disintegrating corridors of the Devourer ship, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From a small town on Earth to the heart of an alien armada, she had traveled further and faced greater dangers than she had ever imagined possible. And yet, in the end, it wasn't advanced technology or supernatural abilities that had saved the day. It was the quintessentially human traits of courage, determination, and the refusal to give up even in the face of impossible odds. Maya finally reached the hangar where she had left her ship, relieved to find it still intact. As she climbed into the cockpit, she could see through the viewport that the rest of the Devourer fleet was in chaos. Ships collided with each other, their coordinated movements now reduced to random destructive patterns. With hands that shook from exhaustion, Maya fired up the engines. As her ship lifted off, she took one last look at the disintegrating husk of the Devourer vessel. It was hard to believe that just hours ago, this had been the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. Stellar horizon, she said into the comm, a grin spreading across her face despite her fatigue. This is Lieutenant Chen. I'm coming home. As Maya's ship burst out of the dying Devourer vessel and into open space, she was greeted by a sight that took her breath away. The Galactic Alliance fleet had arrived in force, their weapons blazing as they tore into the now defenseless Devourer ships. And at the forefront, leading the charge, was the stellar horizon. Tears of relief and joy stung Maya's eyes as she guided her ship towards the flagship. She had done it. Against all odds, one human had changed the course of galactic history. As the stellar horizon's docking bay opened to receive her, Maya felt a surge of pride. Not just in herself, but in humanity as a whole. Today, they had proven their worth to the galaxy. Today, they had shown what it truly meant to be a Deathworlder. The future was uncertain, full of challenges and wonders yet to be discovered. But whatever lay ahead, Maya knew one thing for certain. Humanity was ready to face it head-on. After all, that's what humans did best. The end.